impulsive waves. The impulsive wave is the first of the 4 patterns we need to learn and understand. Impulsive waves have the simple 5-wave structure that develop in the direction of the larger trend. Like all other motive patterns, we are going to use numbers from 1 through 5 to label these patterns on the chart. From the 5-wave structure we have inside the impulsive wave, waves 1, 3, and 5 are trend waves and move in a direction of the larger trend. Waves 2 and 4 are corrective and represent a short-term pullback of the larger trend. For every leg of the impulsive wave, we have the exact number of subwaves you can spot on the smaller time frames. Inside waves 1, 3, and 5, we are going to see a smaller motive pattern, so another 5-wave structure. And in waves 2 and 4, we are going to see smaller corrections, another 3-wave structure. Now, to be sure that you are labeling impulsive waves correctly, you need to remember and check 3 simple rules. Let's start from the rule number 1. Wave 2 never falls below the starting point of the wave 1. After that, we have the rule number 2. Wave 3 is often the longest wave, but never the shortest, of the waves 1, 3, and 5. Wave 3 can be the shorter than wave 1 or wave 5, but can't be shorter than both waves at the same time. And the final rule is that wave 4 can't enter wave 2 territory. So it's not complicated. You just need to follow 3 simple rules every time you see a 5-wave moves in a direction of the trend. And only if all 3 rules are fine, so you didn't break any of the rules, you can go and label impulsive pattern on your chart. And you will know that after a 5-wave move, there is going to be some sort of a pullback in a corrective shape. But let's take a look of a few examples. This is the chart of the Euro-Aussie where I labeled impulsive pattern. Now, before we move on, I think it's a really crucial part to show you step-by-step process why I call this impulsive wave. First of all, if we start looking from the bottom all the way to the top, we can see a strong uptrend, and we know that in the strong movements we are going to see motive patterns. So we are going to start from the bottom and start looking for the first low in the market and call it the wave 1. After that, we are going to go and watch for the second pullback that will hold above the starting point of the wave 1 and call it the wave 2. After that, in the wave 3, we should be able to see a 5 smaller waves. In this case, that's correct, so we can move and watch the second pullback. We have the push lower in the wave 4 that respected all the rules, but more about that in a second. So let's move to the wave 5. Inside the wave 5, we have a 5-wave move, and with that, we can call the 5-wave move complete for now. But we need to do one more thing. We need to check our 3 simple rules to be sure that we are on the right track. So wave 2 needs to hold above the starting point of the wave 1 all the time, and here we can see that wave 2 ended above the starting point of the wave 1. After that, we know that wave 3 cannot be the shortest of the waves 1, 3, and 5. And yellow box on the left show how large was the wave 1, and yellow box on the right shows exact point when wave 3 became the bigger wave from the wave 1. So this rule was also fine. And we have the final rule that say wave 4 should remain above the territory of the wave 2. And we can see over here that wave 4 didn't come even close to the territory of the wave 2. So right now we can go and call our 5-wave move pattern impulsive, and we can say, okay, market is going to turn after a 5-wave move, and we could expect to see a 3-wave move pullbacks. Here is another example of the impulsive pattern seen in the bullish trend. And this is the chart of the Euro-CAD. And I want to go step by step again and show you exactly why I labeled each leg at the current points. First of all, if we start from the bottom, we are going to see a 5-wave move in the shape of a leading diagonal that we are going to cover on the next slides in the wave 1. But for now, you need to go and just say you have a 5-wave moves, and that's good enough for me. After that, we are watching for a 3-wave move pullback in the wave 2 that we can spot at the same time frame, and after a 3-wave move in the wave 2, we are looking for 5 smaller waves inside of wave 3. We got that 5-wave move followed by a small pullback, but that was the lowest point after a 5-wave move, so we need to go and call this the wave 4. And in the wave 5, we can see just one sharp move to the upside. So we really don't need to go to the smaller time frame and watch for the 5-wave moves, because this move already looks impulsive, strong movements, sharp movements. But let's go and check the rules so we are sure that we are doing everything alright. So the rule number 1, wave 2 needs to remain above the starting point of the wave 1, and after that wave 3 needs to be the larger at least from one of the waves 1 or 5, and in this case we can see that the wave 3 was the strongest wave from waves 1, 3 and 5, but let's check. Wave 3 showed on the second box on the right break in the wave 3 the distance that took wave 1 to develop, so it's fine. And the final rule that we have is that wave 4 should hold above the territory of the wave 2, and that rule was also reached. So we can say now for sure this was a nice impulsive pattern. And we are expecting what? We are expecting to see a 3-wave move drop after that. On this chart of the Euro-CAD, we can see the trend was down. And over here, we are looking for impulsive pattern on the downside. Again, process is going to be the same. We are going to start from the top in this case and try to look for a 5-wave moves down. This was a little bit easier than the previous one because every move was strong and sharp. We had the first decline lower in the wave 1 followed by a correction. After that we had a strong push down, after that a small pullback, and a final wave 5 down. But over here we don't see a clear 5-wave move on this 1-hour chart. But the movements was really sharp and strong that give that feeling of the motive patterns. But if you want to be sure, you can always go to the one smaller time frame. In this case that would be a half-hour chart, and go and check if you can see 5 smaller waves inside waves 1, 3 and 5. But I want to focus more on the rules on the charts like this. We know that wave 2 needs to hold below the starting point of the wave 1, and here that was true. After that, wave 3 cannot be the shortest wave. In this case, the wave 3 was the strongest wave of the waves 1, 3 and 5, so this rule was also okay. And after that, wave 4 needs to hold below the territory of the wave 2. Now, since we have all 3 rules reached, 5 ways found, we can go and say this is a perfect example for a bearish impulsive pattern. On this chart of the Euro-Yen, we can see a nice bullish trend developing for a long time, and that tells us that we should be able to see a 5-wave move in the direction of the trend. So over here, we are using impulsive pattern to label the current move that you see on the chart. But since this was the uptrend, we are going to start by looking for the first high from the low and call it the wave 1. After that, the first pullback is going to be the wave 2. And in the wave 3, since we know that we should have 5 smaller waves inside, we can look for 5 smaller waves. We have here a 5-wave move, and we can see that wave 3 was a little bit more extended, but it's still a wave 3, because we just have 5 waves inside, and that's all we need. After that, we are going to look for the second pullback that is going to represent the wave 4, and finally, the new highs would be the wave 5. But again, we need to go and check the rules. The rule number 1 is that wave 2 needs to remain above the starting point of the wave 1, and that was fine. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest waves of the waves 1, 3, and 5. In this case, wave 3 was the strongest wave, so that rule was also okay. And the final rule is that wave 4 needs to remain above the starting point of the wave 2. So in this case, wave 4 didn't even come close to the territory of the wave 2. So we can go and say we have a perfect 5-wave move to the upside, and after that we would expect to see a 3-wave move pullback before a new uptrend comes. Quick tip: you're usually going to see impulsive wave pattern in the direction of the larger trend, and you can check for 5 waves after you see some strong and sharp movements. To be sure you are on the right track, make sure all 3 rules are in place.